fast as Agent Arthropod remained at large. The head of Project Darkness began assembling an expedition that had been worked on for a very long time. But for unexpected reasons, all agents including stalkers of the MIA Corporation were recalled and sent to a meeting. No details. Agent E-132 and the head of Project Darkness went to the place, leaked by an unknown object, which is officially considered to be Arthropod's assistant, and he will also be neutralized. But before setting off, alarm calls were received at the police station. The police along with the recalled agents went to an abandoned high-rise building that had remained closed for a long time. Once inside, the agents and police officers spent many hours and discovered the Arthropod headquarters. Evidence was found that supported the theory that the Arthropod used animals for its mysteries and murders. In the multi-story building, which was searched upside down, many other clues were found. Many species of all sorts of creatures were found, harmless and deadly. The Arthropod stored them in securely locked containers and had constant access to them. Most of the creatures were aggressive predators and defended themselves very fiercely from the swift eyes of the agents and police peering at them locked up. Agent X-070 hypothesized that in their normal state, these creatures would prefer to run away rather than attack humans despite their small size. But then the theory was discarded because it was already clear that the Arthropod controlled all invertebrates. The Arthropod had many species of arthropods. In individual boxes were found spiders, kept either in closed boxes or on the walls of abandoned rooms. The containers were breeding false black widows that had already laid eggs, and young were already hatching from the cocoons. There were scavengers running around on the parquet of some of the rooms, beetle bugs that were eating insect corpses. The Arthropod also kept snails, apatins and grape snails. The only non-aggressive insects were mantises of any species. To certify, Agent C would put them on their hands. There was no aggression. There were individuals that defended themselves from curious agents and police officers. In some boxes, baby mantises were eating each other out of hunger. Also in some boxes were caterpillars, pupae, and the butterflies themselves. some caterpillars were crawling all over the agents. Also found were harmless bedbugs, huge tarantulas, rhinoceros beetles, crab spiders, and many other critters. The agents took containers of the creatures and released all of them without exception. Once out in a small area of trees and greenery under Agent X-070's degree, they all faced fierce attacks from hornets and bees, which stung and flew back to their hives. Some were temporarily subdued by giving honey to the flying insects. On the plot, some of the creatures showed interest mixed with aggression. All the trees and plant leaves were covered with webs of roundworms and other netting creatures. Inside one of the rooms was found a small farm of spiders of the Iresidae species, Iresus polari. Unlike all the insects listed above, Iresus lived in the very best, identical conditions to those in nature. Outside there was a stone block with the corpses of the roundworms on it. The opinion was that the arthropod had long since neglected the other spiders, having abandoned them and cared only for the erasers. Some of the boxes in the rooms were empty or contained one or two creatures. There were exceptions, such as bronze beetles, which Arthropod gave ripe fruit and its juices. Half of all the creatures found were either aggressive or dead, and some were dead. In a small island of trees and greenery, where the humidity was maintained, lizards, fish in a small tank, snails and frogs were found. Even elements of spider cannibalism among spiders of the same species or interracial eating of each other inside containers or outdoors were observed. Searching other rooms, the agents found a dehydrated turtle, terrestrial Central Asian reptile, which the agents took with them. The turtle was given to Agent R691. The animal is in good hands. Meanwhile, the other half of the MIA agents and stalkers were finding new finds. After sneaking through the forest area, they found human remains, which could not be identified because of the extremely heavy stage of decomposition and damage all over the body. Some of the remains were in a huge anthill, which had to be destroyed with shovels and rakes. Others were found under a fallen tree. The corpse had been eaten by local animals and the bones had been scattered. When we reached the abandoned building, it became clear that someone had been living here for some time. On the way to the abandoned house, we had to scare out some bats by throwing sound grenades into the tunnels, as well as breaking down the doors of rusty vans. On entering the building and searching for the rooms, a huge number of arthropod photos were found that were taken a couple years ago. These are these photos. These photos of Arthropod and the new sword were relatively recent. A few months ago, Agent E-132 had apprehended a 25-year-old man dressed entirely in black and confused him with Arthropod, as the latter changed his costume frequently, remaining unrecognizable among detectives and police officers. He had only a black hat and long thin gloves, which were summer gloves, unlike the gloves of arthropods, and were different in their properties and sewn material. It was possible to recognize the model of the sword, clearing up another matter. A week ago, there was a theft in one of the warehouses of Project Darkness. Arthropod stole the blade because of the impossibility of returning the old weapon. The blade was meant for quick missions, and the blade was twice as light in weight as the standard blades of all agents. Also, amidst this huge pile of questions and information, it was impossible to identify this man. There was an assumption that it was the Arthropod when he came out to the people, but it could not be proved or disproved. All the agents, even though they were divided into 3 camps, their alertness was maximized. The rest of the forest area was clean and free of other shocking finds. Here are these photos from the find site. After a couple more hours, the investigation was suspended and postponed to the next day. The next day, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, the search for Arthropod continued. An unknown masked man, codenamed Creek, sent the coordinates of the location for the photo. This is the photo. 4011-0.64N443844.59E. Since C-132 was the only one left out of all the available agents, Golden Skull Head went with him to the specified square. Searching uninhabited houses, the corpses of people who had been mercilessly executed were found. Tyrone Morton was found on a wooden door in the basement of one of the uninhabited summer houses. Cause of death was poisoning with yellow scorpion neurotoxin in the neck. Colin Howe was found decapitated. His body was not found, and his head was in a rusty oil barrel. Samuel Keith's body was found in a pool of cake blood, with torn tissue down to the bones of his back. There were marks from a knife used in a slaughterhouse for cutting up cattle carcasses. Alan Carr was found in a pile of bones, traces of gasoline and charcoal. Identification of the body was difficult. The body of Dalton Henry was found in the basement of a neighboring building, with his head smeared and in a twisted fetal position of agony. No traces of poisoning were found. Rowan Hickman was found alive in the basement in critical condition with a huge, shallow cut 5 centimeters deep, from right collarbone to left pelvic bone, no windows but with holes and bars. He was saved from bleeding and taken to hospital. Interrogation of the only survivor of the attack proved the theory that Crick and the Arthropod had been tooling around together all along. The dog was found on the rounds, with its head smashed in. The mongrel had died on the spot from a heavy blow to the skull with a rock. It was supposed that the barking of the dog provoked the two murderers to kill the unfortunate animal and throw the carcass into a shallow ditch. There was a great deal of wildlife in all the cellars, indicating that the arthropod had been present on the stage for some time. After getting pictures from the area indicated on the coordinates, Agent E-132 and Golden Skull left the scene for a short rest. These are the photos. After a couple hours of scorching sun and light rain, Agent E-132 and Golden Skullhead went to the stage again for more information. At 4:35 p.m., while the rain was easing, Agent E-132 and Golden Skullhead spotted Arthropod at the scene of the recent murders and turned on the camera and began filming the neutralization. This is the video.
Последний раз его засекли здесь. Данное видео будет существительным доказательством для агентства практики. Надеюсь, я смогу его. Сначала нам нужно смотреть место. По координатам, которым отправил нам тот человек, нам нужно подниматься ближе к тем заброшенным зданиям. Не забывай, что его труп надо сжечь со всеми его принадлежностями. Это видео будет напоминать только ваш вид. Убери его.
Хуйня. Ты не понимаешь последствий. Ну ладно. Я должен закончить то, что я начал. Сука, сын!
Что делаем с телом, сэр?
Кто это?
Стой! Стой на месте! Вы не представляете, что вы добились этим. Сначала ты разбудишь раб. Арthropod упоминал об этом? Наверное. Вам конец!
Наконец-то там-то тебе будет намного.
Арthropod упоминал что-то про раб. Надеюсь, его смерти не начнется ничего похуже. За что, говорит? Со мной хуже было. Откуда у него на выйти? Наверное, купил. Если было, всегда мечтал видеть. Недавно осталось письменно была кража. Правда меч, доводит мысли. Забыла, побыла. Наконец-то. Идем с тобой днем.
Это старое удобно.
conclusion of the neutralization, Arthropod and Scream were killed. After an hour, agents from all over the area began to confirm that the arthropods had become more passive and less aggressive. The aggressive predators had become more cautious and fearful, as had their herbivorous counterparts. The corpses of arthropod and Crip were burned and buried without tombstones in a stony field that was littered with garbage and construction debris, and the suits and accessories were doused with alcohol and finally moved in one of the abandoned houses. The swords were unfit for reuse and were discarded, having been broken into pieces by Agent Arthropod's hands. Resurveying the past crime scene areas, it was confirmed that the animals had become more passive and less aggressive. photo and video materials concerning Arthropod and his assistant were destroyed and erased from all existing archives, except for the neutralization footage and the contents of the lost tapes left by Arthropod in various and remote locations of the crimes. This incredible investigation has come to an end, but I'm sure we'll come across more. End of the Golden Skull Darkness Project.